Hello everyone, it's me, Komantis, and today we're gonna go over the patch notes. First of all, I'm gonna say that I'm really impressed how early and how soon we got upgrades and we got new patch notes and the game is gonna change so quickly. So this is a good sign for me, in my eyes, from my point of view, however you wanna call it. The Teamy Studios and Tencent are interested in making this game balanced and looking at its competitive aspect a little bit deeper than a usual company. So let's dive into it. So starting with the generic stuff going on, there's gonna be an update in like tomorrow, in around 30 hours from now. And you can see it on your screen that we got a date and a time, and you just need to restart your app and everything is gonna be good to go. So the details, the general details, is a lot of bug fixes. It's okay for a game like that just got launched to have bugs, and it's great for a company and the players to fix them as soon as possible. Text fixes as well, that's like not important to me. And the most important thing is that we're gonna have a spectate feature test. Okay, so that means that for 2 days, 48 hours, there's gonna be a spectator mode. We don't know yet how this is gonna be introduced to the game. If it's gonna be like other games that you just tap on your friends on your friend list and just spectate somebody, or if there's gonna be in custom games for the tournaments and all that. We don't know that yet, but it's a pretty good sign that we're gonna see competitive action pretty soon in this game. So this is what happens with the general details. So, diving into Pokemon, the first one we got is Charizard. And what's going on with Charizard is that nobody was actually playing it. It took Charizard too long to scale, and we're gonna see some buffs into this Pokemon. And let's begin with Flamethrower. So you're gonna have a reduced cooldown, which means you're gonna have this move sooner, and the effects on opposing Pokemon are strengthened actually. So I'm gonna jump into Stadium Gaming to see the moves. First of all, we got Flamethrower. Attacks with an intense blast of fire, leaving opposing Pokemon burned. So what it tells me, what I understand from this, is that Burn is gonna get buffed. Because as you've played by this time, you will see that you never notice when you're burned and when you're not. The damage is not there. It's like it's not even there. You're burned and you get like what, 20 damage per second, and that's no damage. There's plenty of times where you've been with 1 HP and you were burned and you never paid attention and you never died from it. Or it could have happened only once, But that's pretty comfortable for you. Now, from what I'm seeing, Burn is gonna get an upgrade. So this happens first with Flamethrower. Going back to Pokemon Unite and the patch notes, we're gonna have Fire Pants, effects on opposing Pokemon strengthened. So if you go back, you can see that Charizard deals additional damage to burned opponents. So this lets me know that most likely it's gonna deal more damage if the opposing Pokemon is burned. So generally, we're gonna see a lot more action from the status conditions and being much more useful. So this also lets you know that you might be taking a different approach in team fights with Flamethrower, for example, if you go for that move, because you would just spam it once and you won't even bother attacking if the burn damage is enough. And you're gonna be going back and forth, just spamming Flamethrower and your secondary move. We're gonna walk through that later and see how much value you can get out of this. Very important update. Hope to see Charizard making an impact into the Pokemon Unite world, especially in the competitive scene. Moving forward, we got Fire Blast, cooldown reduced, effects on opposing Pokemon strengthened. So, huge buffs for Charizard. That's pretty big. We don't know the exact numbers yet, but you can actually see by all that now Charizard might be a lot more easy to access, a lot more easier to put it on your team composition. We're gonna go down here, Fire Blast. You can see what it does. It deals a decent amount of damage, and then when you're done with it, it leaves an area that continues to burn on the ground. So opposing Pokemon receive damage over time, and they also get lower movement speed. So as you can see, you get Fire Blast, you get Flamethrower, and you spam these spells quite frequently. You got your cooldown reduced, And it might be a pretty good way to actually now use that on Charizard and play as a control maids, as you could say in other MOBAs. Just spam your spells and do a ton of damage and slows and burns during the team fights. And this is really important for another reason, because if you go up at the top, you can see that the basic attacks inflict damage, and the damage is more when your opponent is burned. So that lets you know that the Charizard output damage is gonna be bigger. For example, let's say that they don't just upgrade the damage on burn, but they upgrade the time it takes for you to stop, to cool off. That means that Charizard basic attacks, instead of doing 3 empowered basic attacks while you're burned, it's gonna be 4 or 5, or you never know the exact number because we don't have the numbers yet. So this means that Charizard gets another big buff that you can't actually see it just from reading this. Effects on opposing Pokemon strengthen. You can't see that. You have to look forward to it. You have to take one extra step. Okay, I shouldn't be getting off the frame. Yeah, that doesn't really help. So this is pretty much it about Charizard. Let's go to the next Pokemon. The next one is Talonflame. And as you can see, Acrobatics, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon is increased. Aerial Ace, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon is increased. Aerial Ace Plus, you deal more damage. Fly, you deal more damage as well. So this is just a straight buff. Talonflame was nowhere to be found. It has a ton of mobility, it has a ton of dashes, but you don't have enough damage like other tricksters. For example, Gengar or Zeraora. The damage they do is like insane. They also have pretty good mobility. Not as good as Talonflame, because with Talonflame you also have huge movement speed with your passive. You get other perks, you can rotate pretty fast throughout your jungle, but you lack damage with Talonflame, and damage is very important in Pokemon Unite at the moment. So generally, a huge buff for Talonflame. We don't know exactly the numbers, so I can't really tell you if it's gonna become meta. It sure is gonna be more playable, and for sure, you can see Acrobatics getting buffed. If you go here, it's your second move. Like, you get it super early, it's gonna help you clear jungle quicker. So we might actually feel like, Talonflame clears the jungle so much faster than other junglers, and you can impact them up so much more early, and that extra damage is all that you need to snowball a game. We could see that kind of approach into Talonflame, but it's still pretty early. We don't know the numbers. So that's pretty much it. Not much to say. Just huge damage upgrade. It's gonna help it a lot, even with the clear time and even with the ganking potential. So we're gonna see how it goes. A huge upgrade also is coming to Venusaur. Venusaur has never found actually a place in the competitive scene right now. It's not in any tier list, like at the top. It needs a lot of help, and it won't come from items, it won't come from builds, it won't come from a guy who's gonna be the faker of Pokemon Unite. It needs more items, more tools to work with, more stuff to do during a team fight, less cooldowns, and this is what Pokemon Unite is gonna bring him. At the moment, Venusaur has Sludge Bomb, and Sludge Bomb is gonna be dealing more damage, and effects on opposing Pokemon are gonna be better. So let's take a look. First of all, Sludge Bomb. You throw a little thingy, you throw a bomb, dealing damage over time to opposing Pokemon in the area of effect and decreasing their movement speed. They also leave. You also leave a poison with this spell, and that also helps with Gengar as well. So this lets you know that less movement speed for the people in here, so it's easier for you to throw your solar beams if you're going for that build, of course. And reducing their special defense is also huge for you, because the damage you're gonna be doing is a lot. Okay, so looking at Sludge Bomb, more effects. Looking at the burns from Charizard, more effects. So generally, you can see they're working on it. They want to make status conditions something to keep in mind, and not just go like, I'm poisoned, whatever, CBA and all stuff, and you move forward. So this is something very important for Venusaur. The Sludge Bomb is gonna be a pretty good aspect, and most of the times people would go with Giga Drain, which is a decent move at the moment, but not good enough, because on the one hand, you want to be ranged and throw your solar beams. On the other hand, you're going to go melee and use Giga Drain. So it never made sense to go for that combo. Then we got a Petal Dance move upgrade. No idea. No idea what that thing is talking about. Most likely, let's go over Petal Dance. Scatters petals around the user, increases movement speed for a short time and dealing downs over time. So this is a pretty straightforward move. What I think they might do is probably give you more movement speed or make you more defensive. Because the way Venusaur works, you either go with Giga Drain and Petal Dance and you go into the opposing team, you go for a tankier build, and a Petal Dance that would increase your defenses would be pretty good and deal less damage, so you can just survive longer and be like an irritating champion, just like scenes in League of Legends. This is how I could see Venusaur work, but we gotta figure it out. Both of these two moves have been upgraded, so we're gonna see how it goes. Solar Beam cooldown is reduced. Solar Beam is the move you love. You just snipe everything from the one side of the map to the other, and you deal a ton of damage. So now that you're gonna have a reduced cooldown, and even when you upgrade it on level 13, it's gonna have an even slower and even lower cooldown. It's gonna be a huge plus for you. So we might actually see more range and more diversity in Pokemon Unite right now, because at the moment you just have your Cidenrace, you got your frontline, and you got an Eldegoss to support everyone. This is how the game works at the moment. But seeing all these updates on Charizard, on Venusaur, they give you extra range or extra ways to work with the range that you have right now. So this is what I'm actually noticing at the moment. These are the steps that Pokemon Unite is taking. So that's pretty much it for Venusaur. So let's take a look at Absol, okay? First of all, you're gonna see that basic attack, bug fixes, this is pretty important. Fixing all the basic attacks and all that, mandatory stuff, like auto attacks, is super important for a game like that, for a MOBA. And then we go into the moves. Night Slash, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon is increased, and Sucker Punch, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon is increased. Absol is nowhere to be found. Not many people use it. It's super squishy. It's not that helpful at the moment. So first of all, Sucker Punch, the movement speed of both the user and the target are slowed, delays the damage dealt, and if Absol suffers damage during the move, knock back the target Pokemon. So that's pretty nice. You do some damage after that, and after you go for your combo, you just take some time off the opponent and you just slow them down, which is pretty important to lock down the opposing carries. And Night Slash also got a buff as well. More damage, that's pretty decent. And you get added lifesteal when you upgrade it. So you just do a dash and now you do more damage. Pretty important, pretty nice. We still don't know the numbers. We just need more time to see if Absol is gonna come in the competitive scene. So that's pretty much about Absol. I know some of you are support players just like me, and you want to make Wigglytuff work, but it doesn't really happen. Or you're always like, man, I should be playing Eldegoss, that thing is just busted. So the thing about Wigglytuff is that it is very situational of what you can do. It's not so stable. Like with Wigglytuff, you need to move forward into the opposing carries, disturb them, and get them out of control, CC them. You work somehow like a tank, but you're also supporting your teammates with slows and helping them work around the enemy team. So first of all, Wigglytuff gets more HP, defense, and special defense, which is really important for a support like that works like a tank, to take 1 or 2 extra hits. Give your team some extra time. Win them time, which is very important in a 10-minute game. So the base stats have gone up. We don't know the number yet. And then we move to the moves. Double Slap. Damage dealt to opposing Pokemon is increased. Effects on opposing Pokemon strengthen. Sing effects on opposing Pokemon strengthen, and Dazzling Gleam bug fixes. So let's see what these moves do and what we would be expecting when the patch goes live. First of all, we got Double Slap. You do some damage in front of you and you go like, and you reduce your opponent's movement speed. This is nice. This is decent. But from what I'm seeing here, you're gonna do more damage, which is always welcome, and your slow is gonna be either longer or harsher. Instead of doing like 30%, you're gonna be dealing 50% slow. Something like that. So we have to wait and see in a little bit. Then we got Sing. And if you go down here, lowers opposing Pokemon movement speed within the vicinity, makes opposing Pokemon sleepy after a while, and lowers their defense and special defense. So again, Wigglytuff looks like it's gonna be going into the back line or into the front line and be like, okay, I'm gonna slow you. You can't reach my carries. I'm gonna lower your defense and special defense, which is great. So it will be easier for us to kill you. So you have to be extra careful on how you're gonna be approaching a team fight. Let me go a little bit lower so you can see what Sing can do. And that's pretty great. That's huge for you. Like, this is a win. This is how you can make this work. Give Wigglytuff extra stats so it can survive to pull off a Sing and reduce the enemy defenses and special defenses, and then do it again with the extra stats that you got. So it's actually a tanky support that's gonna reduce the opponent's stats, and this is what it does. It won't peel for you, but it's gonna help you destroy the front line and the back line in the long run. Okay, so another Pokemon that has been dominating the meta at the moment is Eldegoss. You know what? You're like, what does my 4-man squad need? An Eldegoss. And Eldegoss is always the answer. Eldegoss gives so much to your team, especially with all those heals that come out consistently. Eldegoss 100% needed a nerf. So, let's see what's going on with Eldegoss. First of all, Cotton Guard. Cooldown lengthened, so that means it's gonna take you lower for your passive to come around, and the HP that you were getting is now even lower. So for all of you who don't know what Cotton Guard is, you just jump into Stadium Gaming and it goes right here. Cotton Down, it's your passive. When Eldegoss has been damaged over a certain value, Cotton will burst, which will increase Eldegoss movement speed and regain some health. So this is actually a pretty good way for a team fight, for Eldegoss to reposition without flashing or without using its ultimates or anything like that. You just gain a burst of movement speed and that's enough for you to kite back. So that's pretty simple. It's gonna take you longer for that to proc again, and you're gonna be healing less yourself. Anyways, the heal wasn't big enough, but the movement speed is what you're looking for. And actually nerfing the HPs is not even there. But it's okay. It's just a way to let you know that you can't reposition yourself so many times and so quickly and for free. Moving down, Cotton Spore. Cooldown reduced. Effects on opposing Pokemon strengthened. This move's defense, special defense increase has been strengthened. So we're going back again. And here it is, Cotton Spore. Gather spores around the user that reduce damage received. So that makes you more tanky, and that thing is gonna burst after some time, dealing damage and knocking the area up, and you're gonna be doing you're gonna be decreasing the opponent's movement speed. So if you upgrade it, it's gonna do a knock up. You're gonna throw them away a little bit, like your ulti, but a lot less, of course. And decreasing movement speed, that's very, very important. This is actually a good move, okay? It helps you reposition, it helps you do a lot more stuff, but Cotton Guard was always the move because it has less cooldown, it gives you a shield, and after that, you restore HP, which is broken. And then you increase your movement speed while you're using this move, which is a great option, Cotton Guard. This is why nobody was running Cotton Spore. So going back, more defense, more special defense, and your slow is gonna be even better, and the cooldown is gonna be reduced. So it lets you know that, dude, if you wanna be running something different, if you wanna be more tankier and, disturb other people, Cotton Spore might be the way to go. Just go for Pollen Puff and then add this, so you can kite back, and if somebody dives to your backline, you just slow them or you tank for your team. So it lets you know that you can go for a tankier approach as Eldegoss. And the final thing is your Unite move, HP restoration decreased. So that lets you know that if you want to be healing the amount you would heal with the typical build, which is Focus Band, Muscle Band, and Body Barrier, you might need to change your items. Okay, because you won't be healing as much as you used to. Or you might want to be playing a little bit more aggressive and using your ultimate into the opposing team and split them away. So this is what it tells me right now. Eldegoss is gonna be still super useful. It didn't get nerfed into any of the basic moves that you are spamming all the time, that you give your team such a huge sustain. But what the Pokemon Unite is doing right here is that it lets you know that you can go the other way and go for the Cotton Spore and tankier and diving into the backline and just being a pain for the opposing team. So that's pretty much about Eldegoss. I'm sure we're gonna keep seeing Eldegoss dominating in the meta. Still, the heals are super important right now. Fan favorite and dominating the meta at the moment is Cidenrace, and especially Cidenrace in the jungle. This Pokemon finally gets nerfed. I mean, not finally, it should get nerfed. Like, it didn't give you any other options in the jungle. Like, it was only Cidenrace, and that was pretty much it. So, its attack, it's getting decreased, as you can see right here. Blaze Kick, damage dealt to opposing Pokemon decreased. This is still a pretty good move, because it helps you reposition and you do a mini stun to your opponent. So that's still a great tool. It's not that like if the damage get decreased a little bit, it's gonna change your moveset. A pretty terrible thing about Cidenrace is that Feint will get downgraded. We have no idea what this means, but Feint is a pretty solid move, and I'm really interested to see what's gonna happen. And then we got Pyro Ball. Damage dealt to opposing Pokemon is increased. I've seen some people run Pyro Ball, instead of Blaze Kick, just for the extra range that you get and that you can snipe other people from afar. And that's also a pretty good move. Still, we have to see if Blaze Kick is gonna be decent enough, how much the damage is gonna be decreased, and if Pyro Ball is gonna be dominating after that for your moveset. And we also need to see what Feint will be doing. So let's take a look. Feint, it makes you invincible for like, I think it's like half a second, something like that. And if you're affected by any stance or everything, you can remove that. And your next 3 attacks will restore HP. So this move was actually huge. People use it all the time. It's the way to go, 100%. It's one of the most busted moves for a player, for a champion, for a Pokemon like Cidenrace. Because your main tool to do damage is auto attacks. You don't need to be doing damage with your spells, because doing one spell and spending 1 second into doing that is like 2 auto attacks. You would do the same damage anyways, and you could guide your opponent back. So Feint was always the way to go. I'm really interested to see what they're gonna do with it, how they're gonna downgrade it, because it's definitely one of the most busted moves at the moment. And moving up to your first move, Pyro Ball is gonna get a buff, more damage, and Blaze Kick is gonna be doing less damage. Really interested to see what's going to happen with Cidenrace, to be honest. But I think still it's gonna be pretty dominant and a pretty good Pokemon. But right now, the company is like, well, you can't be playing only Cidenrace in the jungle. We want to see some Talonflame. We want to see some Absol that got buffed and not Cidenrace. So this is how it feels like they're going to be acting with Cidenrace. One of the greatest nightmares in Pokemon Unite is finally getting nerfed. I'm talking about Gengar. You have played a game when you're like, damn, dude, why am I facing a Gengar? And he just sludge bombs and hexes 5 of us and gets Zapdos and has 37 kills at minute 3, Gengar is actually getting a nerf, I should say. But we will see. It still might be a pain, but not such a huge pain. So first of all, we got basic attack bug fixes. Perfect. Then we get Shadow Ball that gets buffed. So this gives you again the choice to go like, do you want to go Sludge Bomb or do you want to go Shadow Ball? Hex move downgrade, we have no idea what that means. And Dream Eater move upgrade. So by that, you see that Shadow Ball and Dream Eater, the 2 moves that nobody has been using in Gengar for like a week, are getting upgraded and they're doing more damage and they're getting buffed. So it's there to give you like a choice. Do you want to go Dream Eater and Shadow Ball and go for that build, or do you want to go Sludge Bomb Hex? We have to figure that out. We're gonna see how other people are gonna adapt to that. If Hex is still gonna be broken, if it's gonna be easier for you to counterplay that, if good Gengar players will not bother at all and will keep the Sludge Bomb and hexing you and 1v5 and going for like a 1v5. So we have to wait and see about Gengar. And let's take a look at the moves. Shadow Ball, you throw a blob, decreasing movement speed and special defense of opposing Pokemon for a short time when it hits. So more damage, and when you upgrade it, more damage as well. While on the other side, you got Sludge Bomb, that's gonna be there. And then on the other side, Hex is gonna go boo hoo hoo, and Dream Eater is gonna go like nice, decent enough for me. We don't know exactly how they're gonna do it, but we're gonna learn soon. So Hex is like the move that you can't hit Gengar and it deals like 2000 damage, and if you're poisoned, you know, its cooldown is reduced to 1 second, so you have like half second to catch that Gengar, pretty much. That's how it works. And Dream Eater is like more of a supportive move that you just make the opponent go to bed, and then you can recast it and teleport behind them. So this is like more of a utility role instead of a carry role. This is what I'm seeing from Shadow Ball Dream Eater. Or if the damage is enough for Shadow Ball, again, you could be playing from a bigger range, a greater range, and just spam your spells. For example, you got your Haunter, Gengar, you got your Venusaur, and you spam like Solar Beams, Shadow Balls. You got your Charizard, and you spam Flamethrowers. So you're playing a lot of poke already. You can see that they want to introduce you greater ways and easier tools to use that range. Zeraora, Spark, bug fixes, we have no idea what that means. Wild Charge, it's the move that nobody has been getting, but anyways, you get a buff, you deal more damage, and your cooldown is reduced, and your Unite move, it deals less damage. So in a way, it lets you know that one-shotting people with Discharge and Plasma Gale is not gonna be happening as much anymore. And you know, it also lets you know that Wild Charge might be the way to go now, and just go for it to become untargetable and do a decent amount of damage. So not pretty much to say about Zeraora. It's still a pretty good Pokemon. The original combo with Discharge and just spam auto attacks and you kill everybody and you deal huge area of effect damage is still there. But we're gonna see the trade-off, like put everything down and see like, is Wild Charge good enough? Is it not good enough anymore? Do the extra drag that Discharge can do is better? So we have to wait and see about Zeraora. So when it comes to Cramorant, you get a nerf to your Whirlpool. I think you get the word right, and you get an extra damage increase on dive. So most Cramorant players, you know, would just spam Whirlpool to all the camps, and they would just try to steal them from you. It was a pretty easy way to clear the camps. The cooldown is also pretty short. And then when you upgrade your moves, most of the people would go for Surf and Hurricane. And now buffing Dive gives you like an idea that you can actually use that spell as well to become, you know, more mobile and combine it with some Air Slash. And you know, you could be extra mobile. Just dive into the opposing team, Air Slash, and jump back. You could go for that kind of stuff, or just go for the typical Surf Hurricane wombo combo. So this actually is not bad for Cramorant, except from the nerf, from the Whirlpool damage. But you actually can't do anything about that. The damage might be also a lot in the early game. That's probably why it's getting nerfed. But it's actually another way to run Cramorant. For Machamp, things are actually very straightforward. You get some bug fixes on basic attacks, and you know, there was always a debate: cross chop or close combat. Close combat would never win. So now Pokemon Unite lets you know that, well, you know, close combat will get a buff, cross chop will get a nerf. They're gonna come into like more of an even state. So actually deciding which one to take would be harder for you. So this is what is going on with Machamp. Nothing else to say. Like, cross chop was doing a ridiculous amount of damage. The cooldown is also pretty low. And yeah, that actually lets you know that you can now run close combat and still be a valid move. And last but not least, we got Lucario with the bug fixes in Power Up Pants and Bone Rush. We got Greninja with bug fixes and Alolan Ninetales with bug fixes. We have no idea what they're fixing, but they are fixing it, so that's something. I hope we're gonna learn everything in detail when the patch goes live. People will just dig into it and find out. So this is the whole patch. Hope you people enjoyed everything. Hope you found all of this informative. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. I put my best effort and thinking to understand what all of these could mean to the meta. So I'm wishing you all the best, and Komantis out.